In the garden, I plant my dreams. Permaculture flows like sweet streams. I'm the daddy with the know-how seed. Creating the world like it's meant to be. Permaculture, P-I-M-P, I'm the king. Wrapping love in everything. Bringing change, making it last. Join the permaculture on the rooftop under the
Welcome to
sun.
episode 307 of the Permaculture Pimpcast, where PIMP stands for Permaculture is my passion. The only Pimpcast on planet Earth where we discuss permaculture, preparedness, and practical living. Well, good to be with all of y'all today. How you doing, son?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Just jamming, son. Listen.
We fly the earth, one fly at a time. This monkey flew with a paradigm.
Yeah, I like the new jams. Anyway, good to be with all of y'all today, and good to be with you, son. Wow, man, a whole lot going on, and I want to thank everybody in the chat. See my buddy Bill Zegley over there, Frank Family Homestead, Lydia, Layla, Dana. Now I'm not. She says hello, pimps. Okay. Oh, Mountainside Homestead with Ken and Amy. Hey, just interviewed them last week, and of course, Renewed Homestead. Go check them out. They got a pretty awesome YouTube channel as well. They got a lot going on, and they're also the moderators right in here. So you know the deal. Don't start no SH, and there won't be no IT. Kind of like that fool that jumped on a couple of weeks ago, son.
Yeah.
Forest Fat. What was it?
Fat Ninja Food Forest.
I keep imagining. I keep having these daydreams of this guy with his little band of merry men or band of merry marchies out there, and I'm thinking they're gathered around him like he's some sage, and he's like, when you can snatch the compost from my hand, you may leave the food forest, or something like
that. Sadly, I think he's only surrounded by cats.
Hey, don't say that too loud. Your mom's got some cats over here, or at least a cat. She better not have more than one. Yeah, because you know how. Yeah, I leave for a minute. I come back. I'm seeing pictures of your mom with a doggone cat in the kitchen. And I'm like, whose cat is that? And I'm thinking, okay, she's playing with me. There's no way I'm coming home to another animal. Sure enough, get back here and bam, here we go. So, yeah, I want to give a shout out to everybody. If you would, please hit that thumbs up. Tell everybody we're live so they can go ahead and start suppressing us like they always do. Well, son, this episode, as always, brought to you by Hickory Ridge Soap from twooldcrowshomestead.com.
Turn that simp into a pimp.
Bam! Living Soil Foundation. That's exactly how we roll around here, y'all. I'm going to have some really awesome news, hopefully, to share before too long. Man, we are doing some really awesome stuff with all the donations you brought in. Man, from all you fantastic folks. And we're going to show you how we actually are moving the needle and using every single dime for the project. This isn't like Feed the Children where like Immortal Techniques says 80% to the staff and company and 20% to the homeless and the hungry. No, we're dropping all of it in the place where it's ought to go. So we finished phase 1, which was putting in the trees and some of the guilds. And now here, I think in a couple of weeks, we're going to be doing phase 2. So we'll be putting the clarion call out for anybody that wants to come check it out. But Dr. Will, son, I don't even think I told you this yet. Dr. Will did scalar testing. Turns out we're about 90%. When he checked it 2 weeks ago, we were 90% to the finish line. And we just got into spring. So, yeah, 90% to the finish line. And folks, what that finish line is, in a nutshell, is all those toxins and everything that were in that soil are 90% contained. So we're hoping we've crossed the finish line at this point, but we're going to keep driving on, and he's hoping to give us full lab results, hopefully by this Friday, but I'm not going to reveal it because I know there's going to be a detachment of people out there that are going to say, well, I don't know about that testing. I got news for you folks. His scalar testing was more comprehensive than the lab testing, and he did it right there on the spot. And in fact, they mirrored each other almost exactly. And his was, it was even more precise, to be honest with you. So
look at how quickly that happened, though. That is insane how quickly you guys were able to remediate 90% of the toxins. By remediating 90% of the toxins that were there, you're not only taking, like, I'm just guessing here, but you're not only taking care of the stuff that happened after the storm, but also the stuff that was present before the storm. That is insane.
Well, still, even in, we're being constantly chemtrailed like nobody's business. So, I mean, it's even tying up some of that stuff as well. And then I also have a clandestine location here on the property where we had a bunch of soil. I think me and your mom covered this a little bit. We had a bunch of soil that was contaminated, and good night. So I'll just kind of give you the overview for the test. But like I said, we're not going to reveal the official results because now we got to spend another 10 G's to get in the engineers, because we're always going to have that. We're going to have that detachment of people that are going to say, well, I don't know about this or that. So we're going to give you lab testing also. And we're going to show, after Dr. Will gives the okay, we're going to get the engineers back out here, and we're going to have to spend another 10 grand. And of course, thank God for all you people out there that have donated. And we're going to bring these guys back in, and we're going to show that we really crossed the finish line. So we'll have the lab testing, we'll have scalar testing, and I think that's going to be sufficient. Now we're going to show a decentralized way of actually doing this. Now, I reached out to Ann Vandersteel, who has a lot of connections out there, and reached out to Mike Adams once she got me contact information with Mike Adams, the health ranger, and I wrote to him and told him what we're doing. As of yet, I'm sure he's a busy guy. As of yet, I haven't heard anything back. Hopefully we will. But folks, here's what this means for everybody. Because of your donations and because of, us donating our time and money, of course, we may have come across a decentralized way of healing this land, no matter where you are. I don't care where you are in this country. Let's say you got grazon on the soil. I mean, we have a way to tie that stuff up. And this it sounds like an impossibility for mainstream science, but I think we're going to prove that it can be done. So that's exactly what you guys paid for. And once we get it done here, we'll replicate it. We'll find another spot and another spot. But back to the controlled area that I was telling you about. We got an area with grazon. All of these, let's say, high tunnel boxes, there's 14 of them, were contaminated with grazon. So couldn't even start seeds out there. It's pretty bad. Now, we could fix it with our methods alone, but that's going to take some time. So here's the preliminary results that we found out. So we've taken, of the 14 boxes, we had one that was a control we didn't do anything with, just put regular water on it. We have 3 with a proprietary solution that I'm not yet ready to talk about. We'll talk about it in the future, folks. And then 3 with my compost extract, and then 7 that were a combination of my compost extract and the proprietary solution. And what we're seeing anecdotally already is astonishing. The ones where they were combined are absolutely positively blowing up like nobody's business. And your mom has been confirming it out there. So folks, I mean, it looks like and I'm doing other experiments right now. Like I'm buying, we bought some store-bought compost from one of these compost places, and it was a mess. It's pure junk. Yeah. And we looked at it under the microscope, and of course, there's not an ounce of life in there. Of course, we got bacteria, but what's the number one thing missing in all these things?
Everything else. Every fungi. But there's some of them that have, I think they do like a nematode extract spray right before bagging or shipping, but literally everything else they're missing. They got bacteria sometimes. Some of them we tested were absolutely sterile. Yeah. Like it was just straight up organic matter, like sterilized organic matter. Nothing else. Sometimes you'd see a little bit of bacteria. Sometimes you'd see anaerobic bacteria. And then other times you might see like some nematodes that are just like starving to death. Like a picture lions with no prey. That's what they were.
That's exactly what it was. And it was, every single time, everything we've tested, y'all, there was not one of them. We found one that was a local produced, and it was the cream of the crap. It was all junk. Every single bit of it was all junk. And we were able to, right now we're seeing if what we can do right now, even if you bought that stuff off the shelf, if you can take these same methods and turn that stuff into something that's fantastic. So that's what we're working on right now. And that could be a game changer for so many people out there. And that's, folks, of all the things we're doing right now, believe me, there's a lot of hats. And this is why I haven't done a whole lot of videos as of late. I did put out a YouTube video today, and I'm going to try to do more of them. But that's precisely the number one reason, is that we've been working so much on these projects and on the scientific realm, that we're hoping that we come up with a decentralized way of saying, okay, I mean, it might even involve shipping some things. I don't know, but we're going to try to make it as inexpensive, just like we do with everything else. We try to make it as inexpensive as possible. You know, people have taken me to task regarding bone sauce about why I don't use fancy packaging. Well, the reason why you see me wrap it up in bubble wrap is because it keeps it cheap. Why we also, well, cheaper. I mean, I can't sell this stuff for nothing, man. I gotta get paid for something. But
even then, like, you're charging way less than what, and given how much work goes into it and how much time and effort goes into it, you're charging way less than what other companies would charge for it.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
It's pure. It's not cut either.
Absolutely. I mean, I could sell the patent on this thing. I could sell this thing over and make millions of dollars, but you haven't seen me do that. Once again, folks, I mean, an indication that I'm not driven by money. I mean, my number, just like in the video I put out today, man, the thing that gets my motor running every single day is when I see animals on pasture. That's not only they're being fed the best thing out there, but also you see how happy they are, and you know that you're doing it right. So that's where the enjoyment comes from. So yeah, we could absolutely make a killing on some of this stuff, but that's not the point. The idea is to come up with a decentralized, inexpensive way to where everybody out there can move the needle in the biggest way, especially when they're dropping all this junk from the sky. See, son, that's the biggest thing for me. This is why I've been going on about chemtrails so much, is that I'm like, am I really moving the needle when they're constantly dumping? Mike Adams just did a test of what fell on Dr. Jane Ruby's place. And I mean, the levels of heavy metals in there are just mind-boggling. And I'm like, okay, how am I possibly going to get ahead of this? This is why my frustration was so large, is like, how are we possibly going to get ahead of all this when they constantly keep dumping this junk from the sky, and it looks like we're actually moving the needle in a big way. Folks, once we have the lab test, don't worry, I'll be the first ones to shout it from the rooftop, but I wanted to let you know that we are 90% to the finish line, and hopefully we've crossed it, but I won't know exactly where we are by this Friday. And then once again, I'll bring out the engineers. We'll get those guys in on it. And then what I want to do after that, once we get all our ducks in a row and we release what the results are, I want to make sure I come up with a step-by-step protocol that is absolutely free. You know, people break my chops about, oh, you try to make money on this and that. Well, you go make bone sauce for free. First of all, learn how to make it, because I invented the process that happens. And you don't even realize that I could charge twice the money for it. But honestly, back to the thing with the bubble wrap. Yeah, just wrap it in bubble wrap because it is the most inexpensive way of shit. And then we eat half the shipping cost. So, I mean, we're trying to come up with really awesome decentralized ways to move that needle. And by the way, y'all, we do have, after saying all that, now it's going to sound like a gratuitous pitch, but we do have bone sauce back in stock. We did get some rain, so I was able to make some. And hopefully we'll have comfrey in a day or two from now. So depending on what happens with this rain, which we needed, hopefully we'll be able to move that needle in a big, big way. Sorry to spend so much time on that, but y'all, I'm as happy as a puppy with two Peters right now, knowing that we are absolutely moving. We are moving the needle in a big way. And I guess pun intended there, but we're moving the needle in a big way. Hey, let me go up to my homeboy Bill right here. He says, question. Getting ready for a second chicken tractor. Should I make another like I sent you, Pimp Master, or another design? If you have a prototype that I need tested, I volunteer as tribute. Sorry if I'm not reading that accurately, because these glasses make it a little bit difficult. No, Bill, what you did there, Bill sent this picture of a chicken tractor, and it was fantastic. I mean, no criticism whatsoever. No, man, Bill, you are knocking it out of the park, and you're doing it the right way, where you're not going out getting 50 million things all at the same time, which is the mistake we made initially when we first got into this years and years ago. You're not making those mistakes. So learn to make new mistakes and learn from the mistakes that everybody else has done out there. So, you know, you're doing a fantastic job, my homeboy. All right.
Bill, I'll be in contact with you here pretty soon. But the only thing I would say about the chicken tractor is, if there's any, like with that one that you have so far, if there's any changes you would make, that's the only change I would make to your chicken tractor. Like, meaning, like, if there's any complaints that you have with it, or if you think there's a way that you could make it function better, then I would go that route and go ahead and make it the changes on this next one.
Yeah, but you were smart to just follow. You were smart to follow the instructions. My goodness, man, the number one thing, my oldest brother, I won't go into any real details about this, but he's one of those guys that can never, ever, ever follow the recipe. And because of it, ever. In fact, I remember he made soap one time, and the first thing out of his mouth, I mean, I kept telling him over and over and over, just follow the recipe, follow the recipe, follow the recipe. He made some soap. I tried it out, and it was good. And the first thing I said, hey, man, that soap was really good. He says, I changed the recipe. It was the first thing out of his mouth. I changed the recipe. But every other thing in his life is an unmitigated disaster because he can't follow the directions. I mean, and also following the directions of people that know what they're talking about and that have done this for a while. So you're not one of those people, man. You're actually moving this thing in the right way. Hey, wow.
Shield Maiden for Christ has a question too.
Yeah. How long? Oh, let me go ahead and put that up on the chat right quick. How long does it take for comfort root to come up? Key soil temperature. Go ahead, son.
I would say about 50 to 60 degrees. It's definitely not one of the first things that pops up whenever spring temperatures start rolling around. But I would say, like, right now, if they haven't popped up by now, then I can't remember where you live, Shield Maiden. But if they haven't popped up.
Oh, no, never mind.
Okay.
Never mind. I'm thinking of somebody else. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Well, if they haven't popped up by now, then they probably should here pretty soon, as long as you're not, like, up in northern Idaho in the mountains or anything like that. But I would say about 50 to 60 degrees. Like where I live, like it's already popping up. And then where you lived at, I think it's already popping up too, right?
Yeah, mine. In fact, I think we're going to start harvesting tomorrow or the next day, depending on what the rain does. And then we'll have some on the website. But we do have the bone sauce, excuse me, the bone sauce up right now. Steve Hall, my buddy Steve. Yeah, bone sauce is 100. Man, we're getting a lot of people out there saying they love this bone sauce. Yeah, folks, it works and it's all natural. I mean, don't eat it, okay? Even though you possibly could, I wouldn't eat it.
Don't eat it.
But it's, I mean, it takes some time to make, and it's tough to get it right. So that's why the stuff is expensive. Yeah.
And William Zegley says again, nope, just not sure about going with your boy JR Chickshaw design. That's your boy, Dad.
Hey, my boy. Yeah, he's talking. You can go with that. Justin Rhodes does a 6x6 Chickshaw, and you know, I made no bones about the fact that I don't like him and he doesn't like me. But I'd go with a 6x4 because it makes more sense in this terrain. It really does make more sense in this terrain. And I'll be honest, I'll give credit where it's due. I don't like the man, but he did come up with a really good design for a tractor, depending on your conditions, depending on your terrain. So in this environment where things are very steep, tough to move, hard to work in, it is exceptional, especially when we put those claws on the front. So it's like that Thundercat mobile, because we have at the end of our tractor, Bill, I don't know what your terrain looks like, but at the end of our tractor, the wooden post that you put on the ground, we basically I sharpened up some spikes and I attached them there, and that's what absolutely holds it on the ground. So that's key. Oh, Ladies Farm is in the house. Hey, another awesome YouTube channel over there. Says, I love my country cuttings. They're strong and come back year after year. And by the way, folks, you might have, like William said, you might have to give it a minute. You'll think it all died for the winter, but no, all it did was die back, and it's going to come back stronger. And before let it grow a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Josh Sloan said, I'd eat it. Billy has never made anything bad.
Well, yeah. Oh, that's Josh. Yeah. I didn't know. Hey, Josh. Yeah. Bro, you don't want to be eating any of this barbecue sauce. Trust me on that one. But honestly, the deer hate it and the rabbits are not a big fan of it. And then one person wrote in here also, I think the ones in California. Yes. Oh, shoot. Gold Country Homestead. Yeah, it says comfrey's off the charts in Northern California, and said even they had good luck with it, if I'm not mistaken, even on squirrels. I sent some to my buddy JD in Nebraska, and he was using it for squirrels as well. I don't talk about it because I haven't personally tested it. Some people are putting it on their wiring in their vehicles because the squirrels are chewing up the wiring. And that's not where bone sauce was never meant really for anything more than fruit trees primarily. And then next thing you know, started using it around the garden, and the rabbits didn't come. And I'm like, okay, well, we got a winner there. And so, yeah.
Danny in Deep South started using it. Yeah, what did he paint socks and then throw them up in his mulberry tree to keep the squirrels away?
Yeah.
And he said it saved his mulberry harvest. But hey, real quick, explain what bone sauce is. Brock Bailey was asking.
Okay, yeah. Bone sauce is basically I didn't invent it. I just made it light years better. It was a recipe from Austria and Sepp Holzer, the great Sepp Holzer from the Kramatterhof, basically not figured out, but when he was a kid, there was a guy apparently that would come around every year or so, and then he would make this concoction, and he showed everybody how to do it, but it's difficult to get right. And if you use the methods everybody talks about, well, you can only use that container basically once. So anyway, I read up on it, and the reason why and what it is basically bones from a dead animal. Okay, that's it. Bones from a dead animal, but I've invented a process that makes it repeatable. Okay, and also invented a process that makes it about 20 times stronger than the recipe Sepp uses. And so now, according to him, some of this stuff can keep things away for 30 years. Depending on your pressure, and that's what I'm going to say. Depending on the pressure you have, it may or it may not. I mean, there was another case of a lady who was sick and tired of her husband hunting in the front yard, and she put it on all the trees out there. And he writes me a letter saying there ain't enough steaks in Kansas City to cover my eyes when he sees me again because of his wife putting this all. And I'm like, I didn't put it on there, dude. Talk to her. I didn't do it. So anyway, it's a browser repellent. And it works pretty darn effectively on deer and rabbits and things like that. Now I want to come up with a bear repellent. I got to basically find a dead bear. So I got to have the bones of the animal I want to repel to make it really, really, really effective. Okay. So I'm just not going to go shoot a bear for no reason. So anyway, yeah, that's it in a nutshell. So let's talk about some of this other farm news before we get too deep in the weeds over here. So we got the sheep out on the pasture. I just put out a video today, and folks, this is a profound value for all of you folks out there that are dealing with, grazing issues or whatever. We came to this place and it was a complete mess. In fact, we bought it because nobody wanted it. Now, in that video, this entire field was filled with goldenrod, multiflora rose, you name every awful thing you don't want to see in a pasture, and it was growing here. And in fact, I got the YouTube videos to prove it. You look at it now, and it is almost all forbs and grass. And there's a little bit of multiflora rose out there, but it's like dying and dying and dying. It can't keep up. And how did we get there? Oh, also Chinese silvergrass. What would be in most pasture problems that people are dealing with, let's just go ahead and cover this real quick because it's of profound importance out there. So many people are farming and getting into this. So I would say for 99% of the pasture problems out there, what would you say the solution is?
Get rid of 90% of the animals on that pasture and start rotating them correctly. A lot of people have way too many animals, especially when in the homesteading realm. A lot of people have way too many animals on too little land, and they're not rotating properly. On larger farm scale, the biggest issue is just not rotating properly. Even though some of the farms around here where I live in Texas, they could maybe even potentially increase their head of cattle if they started rotating correctly. But that's the number one issue, is that people just don't rotate correctly. And their version of rotation is maybe 2 or 3 times a year they rotate them to a different pasture, and then they completely wipe it out. And they keep feeding hay in the same doggone spot, and then it creates more compaction, and then they just have to keep feeding more and more hay, and then they're on that whole cycle.
No, I'm talking about remediation. Let's say let me talk about it. And I'm glad you pointed that out, but the question, let me kind of bake it down a little bit. Okay, so you come into a place and let's say there's high compaction, there's multiflora rose, there's Chinese silvergrass, and you know that soil is messed up. What is the number one thing you can do to that soil to improve it?
Graze correctly. Put down organic matter and graze animals on top
That's
of it
what I was
and do
going
it
to say.
correctly.
Okay, the answer I was looking for was carbon. Okay,
Oh,
so
sorry.
no. I mean, it was ambiguous the way I asked it. So, what I'm getting at is that if you have a bare patch of ground and there's no grass growing, put down some doggone Greg Judy has entire books written about this. Okay, you can even go to his YouTube channel, and it works. Roll out hay. Don't just put it in one spot. And let's say if you're like in us in a very rugged environment, you might have to carry it. Spread those flakes out. Let your animals eat it there. Put a carbon layer. Do not leave bare soil out there. And no matter what the problem is, the answer is always carbon. I don't care who you're talking to. 9 times out of 10, I mean, there's exceptions, obviously. But 9 times out of 10, when you see a bunch of stuff growing up out there, like this Chinese silvergrass that nothing but a water buffalo will eat, trust me, nobody up here is raising water buffaloes.
Nope.
So you put down carbon and you will see good things happen. Now, it might require a little bit of an investment on your front end, but then you get to the point also where you can start stockpiling forage. There's so many things you can do. But as long as you have too many animals, and as long as you are, or getting them out too early to graze, like right now, it's, I just got mine out yesterday. Now that is way late. I could have got them out 2 weeks ago to graze, but I had them working in a trouble spot. And that's exactly what I talked about in that last video. So, do you have a video on how to properly get cuttings from comfrey? Yep. Just go to the YouTube channel, and it's simple. And that's the thing. We want to put ourselves out of business. That's exactly what I want to make comfrey so doggone ubiquitous. I'll have to do another video soon about it because we got so many.
I was going to do one too.
Yeah, we got so many new people on board that you may not understand why this comfrey is so doggone valuable to us, because everything eats it, at least the Bocking number 4. Everything wants to eat it. And also it is absolutely positively phenomenal in a compost pile because it's a dynamic accumulator. Takes all that wonderful stuff, and then when we put it on our compost, this is why we are producing biocomplete compost that is many magnitudes better than pretty much anybody else out here. In fact, I got a pile right now, y'all, that is to die for, and that's going to be part of the protocol as far as healing your soil. But that's a more advanced thing. We'll come to that more. But anyway, I got the sheep on the pasture, and they're moving right now because of spring flush. They move every single day. If that's too much of a burden for a lot of folks out there, if you can't move them every day, maybe, well, how do I put this? You might have too many animals. And you might not have the bandwidth to have those animals. I mean, you just have to decide on what it is for you. But right now they're moving every single day, and they're probably going to move every single day for at least a month. We'll just see. A lot of it depends on your grazer's eye, depends on the weather, but it's not difficult. It really isn't. Right now they're going to move every single day, and all they're doing is taking off the tips of the grass. That's all we want them to do. And then it's going to stimulate even more growth. And then all of a sudden you're going to see magic happen. Folks, just if you can, keep them moving. You may even be on a 2-day rotation, but if you give them too big a paddock, all they're going to do is eat the stuff they really love, and you're going to find yourself in a worse circumstance. So it's better to keep them small and keep a smaller number of animals. So way of getting rid of this silvergrass that we got going on out here, and I talk about it in that video just briefly. I didn't go into a whole lot of specifics, but if you can, folks, cut it down, put down carbon. That's simple. Cut it down, put down carbon. Anything else you would add to that, son?
And then rotate correctly, and then keep on adding carbon.
Yes.
And even, let's say you don't even have animals, you can kind of mimic, minus the poop part, you can, like the manure part, you can kind of mimic that yourself with a mower or like a brush hog set on its highest setting if need be. You can kind of mimic that whole thing for yourself in preparation of getting animals.
Yeah,
because the point is to keep the grass and the plants in a vegetative state, so they keep on shooting down exudates into the soil, which are feeding the microbes, which are creating a better environment, which are increasing and adjusting the fungal to bacteria ratio, which is going to give favor to more preferable plants.
but also when you eat it down so close to the soil, Jim Garish from Kick the Hay Habit has written extensively on this, that when you allow your animals to graze that stuff down to where a half inch of grass is there and you got bare soil, it is absolutely, like William said, you are absolutely baking the microbes in that soil. They got to go deeper, and it's not helpful to your grass, and it's not helpful to the compaction either. So you just want to let them hit it a little bit and then move on, hit it a little bit and then move on. And if most of us in our Western way of thinking, we think that we have to have a lawn out there. That is not what you want, because you want to keep the soil temperature as cool as possible. And the only way to do that, the only way is to let that grass stay as long as you possibly can. So you want to just let them hit the tips, depending on the grazing model. Now, there are other methods out there like high density grazing where you're going to go out there and let them absolutely scalp it, but they're not going to be back on it for maybe 6 months. I mean,
or a year,
or it could
Joel
be.
Salatin's. Yeah, Joel Salatin's cows don't hit the same spot for over a year.
Well, it depends on the spot, and it depends on the method. Greg Judy has tried just about every single thing, and it's people like out there, Ian Mitchell Ennis in South Africa. There's so many different ways to go about it, and all of them work. You just may want to switch it up. And then, some of the stuff I learned from John Kemp has got me, wow, man, thinking, man, there's so many different ways you can go about this, and all of it where instead of favoring the grasses, you favor the forbs, because the forbs, you got different zones in your soil taxonomy, and your A zone, your A horizon, basically the top part, is the most unstable. But the thing that keeps it all together is when you have a land race of grasses out there and also forbs. The forbs put down a taproot that goes really, really deep through the A horizon all the way down to B. We don't even know in some cases how deep they go. And that what's anchors everything all together. So if we were grazing, I can't help but wonder, how differently things might have been here in the mountains if we had grazing systems where we favored forbs. But that's going to be another conversation in the future. But folks, there's so many awesome information out there. So other information, other farm news, we're still in hurricane. I'm looking out this window right now and I see 2 trees laid up there on a sheep fence that has been sitting there since this doggone hurricane came through. So we're just now getting to the point where I'm able to I've been working so much on these other projects, figuring out how to clean up this environment, that I let some things go by the wayside here. And despite me, things are still looking pretty darn, they look fantastic in the pastures, but the mountainside pastures could use a little bit more work, and I'm going to get up there and get some TLC. Cool thing about these methods, y'all, they are forgiving, but they work even better when you can stay on top of them. So I got to cut down some trees. Well, one of them laid over on the fence, and then we got another windstorm that was even worse than a hurricane. So, son, what do you got going on your end?
Just like right before coming in here, I was mowing the front yard, and the reason I'm mowing is because I need compost materials. I'm not mowing to please the neighbors or anything like that, but I have the chicken tractor on steroids in the backyard. But today, just tried to spend as much time outside because this was the first sunny day we've had in weeks, especially after this last rainstorm. And even before that, it had been overcast for the longest. Even before I came up to North Carolina, it was overcast around here. So yeah, spent most of the day outside and just caught up on outdoor work, really. That was the main point of today. Get as much sun as possible. Took the baby outside. She was chasing chickens earlier. Now that we no longer have a mean rooster, she is in there with the chicken pen chasing those chickens. But yeah, that's mostly what I was doing today. Also got some, so last night I finally got the rest of the raised beds filled for the backyard. And today, Emily and the baby, I was getting Emily lined out on planting the tomatoes because we have a ton of plants that we started under the grow light that we just haven't been able to get outside yet. So finally got that done today. Part of it done today. We still have plenty of more plants to put out there and everything. But yeah, June she's cracking me up. She's up there helping me flip compost and everything. She's getting like a handful and then just throwing it. And then she's grabbing the right pile and throwing it towards the correct direction. She understands everything. She just has no urge to talk about it yet. She'll say otter, she'll say more, and that's about it.
Otter, yeah. She saw otter at this little zoo they had around here, and she's been nonstop. You tell her to say otter, bam, she's Johnny on the spot. But she won't say grandpop. So
she'll barely say dad.
Yeah, so she's coming around. So speaking of raised beds, Troy here's got a question for you, son. He says, I have several hugelkultur raised beds, 5 years old, but I'm noticing that 120-year-old silver maple roots have infiltrated the no-till bed. Should I go scorched earth and rip out the beds? What would you do?
Oh, so I wouldn't rip out the roots. What I would do is try to find where like the main branch is connecting to the tree. And if you don't care much about the maple, then I would go ahead and cut that root and then clear whatever's like in the way and then just let that root decompose in place. I wouldn't go try to rip it out or anything like that. You're just going to damage like soil structure. And that's a carbon pathway that future plants can use like way down the line once that starts decomposing.
Yeah, or maybe build your beds a little bit higher. I mean, that's also an option too. All right. So with that, hey y'all, okay, we'll get back to questions here in a second here. Want to tell everybody, Wave Watch, if you want one of those, kicks out those self-edgio tones that I love so much. And if you want one, Billy 100 will get you $100 off of that. Folks, I mean, that thing is a game changer in a big, big way. All right, coming up May 4th. This is a new one, y'all. May 4th, 1 to 4 p.m. in Lawrence, South Carolina. Now, you can go to homesteadgathering.com, and they had one before. We talked about it here before. And anyway, that is bring your own lawn chair. And I think they're going to have a couple of speakers there, local people around there, which is the best way to go about it. And yeah, so if you want more information, go to homesteadgathering.com. I think they even have a Facebook page called the Homestead Gathering. I'm surprised that wasn't taken already, but anyway, go check that out, and you're going to find out they have some awesome folks over there. That folks, look, so many people have gone back into the matrix. I know I keep going on about this, but it has happened in a big way, and it's happening still. You can't forsake, getting together and talking about this stuff and finding out what other folks are doing. But this is also where you find out who are the people that are serious about this. And I mean, you see the Johnny come lately. I know Steve Hall is always going to be doing this for the rest of his life. I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life. A lot of the people in our Homestead group that Ben and Denise at Renewed Homestead started, a lot of the folks in there are probably going to be doing this for the rest of their lives. You will find out, just like you did in the preparedness community years ago. This is why it was so easy to see exactly what would happen when Trump was elected, was because I've seen it over and over again. Honestly, it happened on steroids this time. Every single time there's a Republican in office, everybody acquiesces. And then when a Democrat's elected, the same people you haven't seen for 4 years, all of a sudden they come back. Happens every single time. And you're going to see it happen this time. But honestly, take the time to go to these things. And speaking of things, May 2nd through the 4th, Mountain Readiness is coming up. I'm going to be there. Not quite sure what I'm going to teach yet, but I am going. Last time I did my first ever, what was it? It was something on food forest, tactical food forest, tactical food forest. And that was the first time I've ever did that class live. I've only ever talked about it privately, but that was the first time I did a class on it. But folks, that's the best homestead festival you know nothing about. And it's going to be here in North Carolina. So go to mountainreadiness.com, go get your tickets over there. And the people that are there are going to absolutely blow your mind in what they teach, because you're not going to find it at any of the homestead conferences out there. Some of the ones I've been rather critical of, I'm like, come on, man. I mean, what about those of us? I mean, I understand there needs to be a barrier of entry. I get that. But for crying out loud, man, it's the same tired classes every single time. And that's not what happens here at Mountain Readiness. And also for those of us that are into the tactical space or see zero distinction between homesteading and permaculture and preparedness, there's classes. This is why I love this festival so much, is because it's geared for people like me and a number of others like me that, think, okay, you know what? I'm going to take a tracking class. I'm going to figure out next bull that jumps my fence. I'm going to figure out where he came from and where he went. And it's, believe it or not, it's stuff like that. And there's little methods, and you're learning from Green Berets back in Vietnam. And these guys are cool, man. When I say cool, they are Fonzie kind of cool. So, go check them out. You're going to be so glad you did. Let's see here. What else we got coming up? That is pretty much for the festivals right now. And
I've got 2 festivals. The Kentucky Sustainable Living Festival, that'll be in June. And then I'll be at Midwest Preparedness Conference, which is in, KSL is in Bowling Green, Kentucky. And then Midwest Preparedness Conference is just outside of Lawrence, Kansas, which will be the first time I've been back to Kansas. And I don't even know how long. But those are 2 festivals that I'll be at here pretty soon. Midwest is in May. I believe like the first or second week in May, somewhere around there. But if you go to any of my recent videos, it'll be linked down below in the description box, both of those festivals. We did have a question from Mel over here in the chat. And she's saying, finally getting my baby chicks. What type of feed do you suggest for them in the beginning? We'll be doing your static chicken tractor for the eggs and the compost.
Well, okay, I guess I'll tackle that one. What kind of feed do you give them? Well, William came up a while. First of all, I give him the baby chick feed, organic. That's the way we roll. And then William figured out a few years back that we were able to get him out of the coop because at that time we were feeding all of our chickens on food scraps. But you'll find out that regular store-bought chickens, man, they're not going to want to come anywhere close to food scraps for about a month. But he figured out that if we were able to use the rice that we were getting from some of the restaurants, that it resembled maggots. And because of that, we were able to get them out eating food scraps within 2 weeks. So if that's if it's even in the cards for you. So as long as we were using rice, we were getting them eating regular food in about 2 weeks. Yeah. And still kind of supplementing, not to a much lesser degree with the chicken feed. But yeah, I'd use the organic baby chick feed, and then we'll be doing your static chicken tractor for the eggs and compost. Sounds like a winner. I'll tell you what, just be ready, because the learning process, I usually don't recommend people do that unless you already have a pretty good understanding of chickens and also a pretty good conversational understanding of composting. If you're not ready yet, I would start practicing, maybe making a few 18-day compost piles, or check out my Patreon where I'd make it even easier, where 18-day Berkeley compost pile, you're going to flip that thing about 9 times. But when you use this other method where it's a combination of Jeff Lawton, 18-day, and Elaine Ingham, I have that one. You can get on there for as little as $1 on Patreon, and you can go back and watch some of the videos where I did play-by-play how to make compost, where you're only going to flip that thing 3 to 5 times, and you're probably going to produce much, much, much better compost. So I would get kind of conversational about that, because using the chicken tractor on steroids is a more advanced way of doing not only chicken raising, but also compost. It's an advanced way of doing it, but it can be done. I was doing it back before I knew anything about compost, and it took a while, but had I known about compost prior to that, I could have made the learning curve a lot easier. But I'll tell you what, it was a hard lesson, but thoroughly learned. Believe that. Denise is saying, Billy, that link isn't coming up for homesteadgathering.com. I'll try when we go to Eric. I'll go ahead and see if I can't find out what's going on with that. All right, so we're going to jump in real quick to some of the news out there. Good news. HHS announces CDC sub-agency focused on vaccine injuries. How about that? Well, I don't put any stock in. At this point, honestly, I'm starting to believe that this administration is the latest version of hope and change. And name one person who's gone to jail yet. Oh, they need time. I haven't seen one. And that's just one thing I'll cite right now. But anyway, look, I don't know if this is true or not, but I enjoy the way they lie in this article. So anyway, We'll just see exactly how that unfolds. All right, another good news thing. Female fencer disqualified after kneeing in protest to trans-testicle opponent. Okay, I added the trans-testicle part, but I think you know where. Well, the girl, I saw the video, and the thing that got me, the only reason I'm talking about this, first of all, I think that's good news that this girl actually stood up. It's a shame she had to stand up. And the smart comments that people were saying to her as she was walking off really, really aggravated me. Like these parents or whoever they were, like she's the bad guy because she said, no, I'm not going to fence this guy. He's a doggone man. I'm not going to do it. And, kudos to her, and it always seems like it's the women, man, who are always the ones standing up, doing the right thing. I mean, some of the most
right or wrong. They're the only ones, right or wrong. They're the only ones that stand up for what they actually believe in. The guys are the ones that are just like, oh, I'll just get along, and they'll voice their opinion, their honest opinion, like separately. But look at COVID. The only ones that ever came up and said something about not wearing a mask or wearing a diaper, more like it. The only ones that said that were the women. Not one man approached me and said, hey, you need to put on a mask. It was always the women that came up and said, hey, you need to put on a mask. Right or wrong, they're the only ones that stand up for what they believe in.
That's a really good point there, son. For good or ill. And then all the guys, well, I got a wife and kids. Well, I never heard a woman say that, but I won't go down that road. I mean, the honest thing is, man, this girl, sometimes, you know what? The strongest tree stands alone. And kudos to her for actually standing up and saying, you know what? I'm not going to have it. I'm not going down like this. And the snide, nasty comments, like somebody said, enjoy the couch. And had that been my little girl, that news story might have been changed.
Yeah. There's a different story if June was involved. First of all, she wouldn't have had to do it herself.
No.
Second of all, it just would have ended differently.
Yeah. I mean, come on, guys. Reach down, grab those things, and take the shrink wrap off of them and start standing up. I mean, these women are out here doing some seriously heavy lifting. And if I had a nickel for all the ladies that write to me saying, how do I get and I'm not talking about a lot of the guys in the chat here because I know there's some testosterone filled men here in this chat, but all the women that have written to me, it's just heartbreaking when they're saying, look, hey man, is there any way you can speak to my husband? I'm like, no. I mean, you think he's going to listen to me? I mean, what do I possibly say? I mean, if he can't figure out, hey, you got to quit watching football and stand up and start kicking some butt, I don't know what to tell him. So kudos to all you ladies out there and you guys that still have a little bit of testosterone left. And some of you got a lot. So, all right, so the last one, how to detox from metals falling out of the sky. This one came down from the Health Ranger. And okay, so here's some of the things that you might want to start adding to your diet because apparently it helps quite a bit. So to combat heavy metal exposure, several foods and superfoods are recommended, including chlorella, spirulina, I can never say that word, garlic, cilantro, turmeric, depending on, I don't know how to pronounce that, ginger, lemons, limes, flaxseed, chia seeds, kombu seaweed, apples and pears. And of course, all those foods support liver function and boost your immune system. Effective supplements are NAC, milk thistles, zeolites, green tea, glutathione, vitamin C, B1, that's thiamine. So yeah. And the reason I'm bringing that up because, okay, for a lot of the folks that are freaking out because, oh man, and good night, man. I've never seen so many people on Twitter absolutely positively losing their ever-loving minds about these chemtrails that are going on right now. I mean, people have absolutely, I'm calling that, I'm going to call it good news simply because people are, it's taken this much for people to actually say, come on, enough already. This weather is not natural. I'm seeing the planes dump this garbage from the sky. Mike Adams just put out that thing the other day where, he's testing this, the aluminum, mercury, all this other stuff is off the flipping charts, and it's not natural. A lot of this stuff doesn't fall from the sky like aluminum, okay? It doesn't come naturally from the sky. It doesn't sit on the surface of plants. So if it's there, it's because it was put there, okay? It doesn't fall from the sky and land on the surface of plants. So if it's there, it was put there, and they're putting it there from the atmosphere. So I guess that is the yang to the yin, in meaning that if there's some bad news out there, I'm going to try to give you some good news. So there is some of it right there. All right. With that said, let's go on over to my man, Eric Sider.
Hey, Eric Sider here with your Pimpcast tip of the day. Today's tip: who protects us from you? As armed, masked men in unmarked vehicles are snatching people off the streets, we must ask ourselves, what should a community do to protect itself from outside forces? An obvious answer would be the local police, but unfortunately they have become a over-militarized agent of the state that sees all individuals as the enemy. Serve and protect doesn't apply to us. Of course, being a policeman is an impossible job, being asked to risk your life every day for not much money. It's no wonder it attracts exactly the wrong types of people. It sure is curious that the most critical jobs in a society seem to get paid the least. It should be the opposite. Or you have the other option of volunteer services, but as we know, you are only as effective as your training. Self-reliance is nonsense. We all need to be as prepared as we can be as individuals to create a resilient community. It all starts with food, but it should be obvious now that security is just as important. When you have a healthy, prepared community, it's more likely that those who have to make a choice between the community and the state make the right choice. Because until the robots replace the humans, the plans of the psychopaths must be carried out by individuals that might live next door. You can find me on YouTube and Instagram at Eric Sider, and if you're in need of permaculture t-shirts or remote permaculture consultation and design, head over to ericsider.com. And for those in the Sacramento area, check out my permaculture community group, permaculturefairoaks.org.
That's my dog right there, boy. Eric knocked it out of the park once again. I don't even know where to. I could do an entire program on that one, son.
I literally just did a video talking about like the title of the video was something along the lines of like 10 things that every man should carry or something like that. And it wasn't saying like you're not a man if you don't carry them. It was more along the lines of like, hey, if you're a man, you need to have the ability to defend yourself or protect your family. Like, quit relying on everybody else to keep you safe. Start keeping yourself safe. Like, be an asset instead of a liability. Like, whether it's like carrying this right here or carrying like a first aid bag or like just even a simple tourniquet makes you an asset as opposed to just being a liability. Like, if you're, it's a pet peeve of mine now. It's getting irritating, especially whenever I hear the response of like, oh, well, everybody else is carrying. Like, cool, man, contribute.
Yeah. I remember me and Ben at Renewed Homestead, we were going to we were learning how to tan hides. And I remember before we got out of the truck, Ben said, "You armed?" I'm like, "Yep." I mean, but he was too, but he didn't say, "Well, I'll leave mine here." He you know,
That's something my wife says.
What's that?
Like, oh, you're armed? I'll leave mine here. That's completely acceptable.
Yeah, but even in that case, I don't think it is, not with your mom, because there's too many times where she's relying on me for that stuff, and I'm like, no, you got to make it second nature. You got to always carry, no matter what. And I mean, just not in terms of weapons either, but in terms of, like you said, some of the most basic things. I mean, you like back when I was still wearing my tools, if an apprentice wanted to get dealt with in the worst kind of way from me, you better at all times have a knife, have a pencil. And I'm talking as a, industrial electrician. You better have a knife, you better have a pencil, and you better have a means to tell time. And that was, pre-cell phone. And it was just basic things that you need to know, things that you need to just a basic kit that you need to have on you at all times. But he hit that other thing too. How'd this cat get up in here? Yeah. I'm sitting here looking at this. I'm like thinking this is the biggest rat I ever seen in my life. And it's this cat, your mom's cat's in this. Yeah. She better not come jumping up here. Yeah. Michelle, if you're listening right now, that little heathen of yours is in the studio. So anyway, oh, by the way, Denise, I got it wrong. It's homesteadergathering.com for that place in South Carolina. I'm sorry about that, y'all. Homesteadergathering.com. One of the few times where you can add ER to a word and not make it a pejorative. How about that? So Yeah, but anyway, Eric hit on a bunch of other things I could spend an entire show on, like snatching people, what happened to the First Amendment, snatching people up off the street, crying out loud, man. I mean, what's going on right now we're seeing the Bill of Rights are about to go in the toilet unless the American people start waking up. And I mean, in a big way. So, like I said, boy, that's an entire program into itself. All right. So I'm going to move on. EMP Shield, $50 off with promo code PERMA. Remember, things go sideways. You're not going to the club, you're going to the house. And that's what EMP will allow you to do in your vehicle. Additionally, they have one for the whole house. So your number one threat is always going to be lightning, especially if you live in the places where I grew up, like in Oklahoma and Texas, Kansas, Nebraska. You get those storms rolling in. Well, you're also going to get some lightning. And if it hits your house and it blows anything up downstream of that EMP shield, they're going to cover you for 25 G's. That's why EMP Shield is definitely a sponsor of this show. So go check them out. Promo code PERMA will get you $50 off. All right, so I want to jump right into this. Man, Eric, why do you do this to me, man? Because my brain's set on what the topic was. I don't listen to what he sent until everybody else has listened to it, because I want it to be a honest reaction to what he wrote. But yeah, I'm going to retool my brain, and I'm talking about
maybe that's Thursday's episode. We'll talk about what Eric said on Thursday's episode. How's that sound?
Yeah, maybe we can go ahead and do that. Man, check this out, y'all. I'm bringing this up because I try to reflect what we're going through and what we've gone through and what I know other people are going through, because I have conversations with other folks. And look, spring is rolling around. You're coming out of winter and you feel overwhelmed. So many of you right now, whether you're new to this or whether you've been at it for 30 years. Let me tell you something. Let me just go ahead and just cut to the chase right off the bat. You're never going to catch up. What do I mean by that? Folks, I don't care where you are in the continuum, as in the preparedness, in farming, whatever the case may be, you will never catch up. You're never going to find that point where you're just like, yep, everything's done. And it can be frustrating. And people have quit because of it, because we're constantly in a state of putting out fires around here. Constantly. It's you think everything's going good, and then bam, something breaks. You get some fool jump your fence and cut up your hose or something, or you have a tree fall down, you have a wind event. It could be weather dependency. I got a list here, all the different things why things go sideways. And you may think everything's going great and you're always expecting it at that time, son. Am I lying?
No, no, you're not lying at all. Okay. For example, you might have some videos you got to edit. You got a whole bank of them to edit, and then you screw up and leave your computer on the top of the car, and then you find out going 60 miles an hour down the highway that you left your computer on top of the car. That happens.
What? Did you break it?
This was a couple of months ago, but yeah, well, it worked for a couple months afterwards, and then it all of a sudden just crapped out on me. But yeah, that happens.
I know guys that would take that thing back to the Apple store and say, man, I can't even believe y'all sold me this junk. Man, look what happened here, man. I know some serious hood rats that would absolutely do that and say, look, I can't even believe y'all sold me this crap. It came out of the box looking like this. But no, it's all those things, man, where you think everything is going great, and then all of a sudden the bottom falls out. And folks, that's just the nature of it. We are and it really frustrates your mom a lot of times. Yeah. Or she'll get upset with me where she's got her brain tuned in to doing something like she has on the list that day. Like every day I'll ask her, okay, what do you got going today? And it's usually there's going to be a fair amount of things that are office related, but I know how much she hates being in the office. She would rather be outside any day of the week, any kind of weather, doing that kind of work. So I'm thinking, okay, well, how can I help her expedite this? And there's certain things I can't help her do. And, so sometimes I'm always appealing to her, like, look, how much of this can you absolutely do on the front porch? Do you have to be in that office right now? You can be mobile these days. And learning what we've learned from Dr. Cruz, we realized that, okay, the worst thing we can do is spend more time inside. And folks, if you haven't checked out his work, please do. And you're going to find out that in my life, there is nothing that's moved the needle more. I'll be honest with you. There is nothing that has moved the needle more. And, and it could for a whole number of others as well. But honestly, it's going to be things, and I made a list here, like things like weather dependency. Okay, when you do this kind of work, a lot of it depends on the weather. Okay, like today, it rained. I had every single intention of doing something on the other side of the property and never could because just rain. And then all of a sudden your mom, she was going to go to town, but I was like, well, let me bundle some things here because I got trash I need to take in. So I'll go do that. Well, I didn't account for that. Well, there's a whole list of other things I didn't get done on my power list, but I did get it done. You got seasonal workload. You're going to have those cyclical things in nature that are just going to hinder you. In some ways, it could help you. Yeah, I mean, depending on the type of operation you have, and it could be a job or whatever, it could be labor shortages. I mean, the hardest thing to find, do you know the number one expense in construction is always labor? It's your cost of labor, which is also the reason why maybe you might want to be thinking about why they want to get rid of this carbon called the human body. Okay. Yeah. Labor is your number one cost. And if you can replace that with ask yourself, folks, examine your lives right now. And I mean that. Examine your lives and ask yourself, can a robot replace what I do? Is there any conceivable way it can be done? And then you might want to start, maybe you don't have to do it tomorrow, but you might want to start thinking about some plan Bs or some other options out there where it's a little more difficult. Yeah, I'll put it this way. There's going to be a whole lot of MDs out there. There's going to be a whole lot of doctors that will lose their jobs before electricians. Guaranteed.
Comedians are safe. Comedians are safe. People that provide entertainment, comedians are safe.
Yeah.
That's not something a robot can take over.
Well, not yet.
What we do.
Well, to a certain extent, it depends on how much. I think it's going to be a novelty to be exclusively human coming up soon. But those are some of the things where you feel like you're getting ahead, and it's going to be equipment failures. It's going to be the labor shortages. One of the big things I was talking to, I don't want to give this place away, but I was just having a conversation with one of the local places around here. And the number one problem they have is just getting people to show up. Yeah. There was that bakery that I work with, and they had a girl show up on the first day. Can't find her. At 10 minutes after she's been hired, they find her in a parking lot doing yoga. And, and they're asking her, hey, what's going on? Is everything okay? Well, I just felt like I needed to, just kind of get out of there for a minute. They're like, hey, we got you got break time and lunch. I mean, that's what that's for. Well, I don't think we're going to be a good fit then. What? Okay, so you're going to have some doofuses roll in there like that and then have the nerve to say, well, can I get paid for the 2 hours I was here? Like, okay. So then you got people out there, unforeseen events. I mean, like a manufactured hurricane or what's happening in, in Arkansas. Does anybody else find it a little bit curious that they just happen to have a flooding event in Arkansas? Same place, huh? Right where the doggone... Where'd they discover some more lithium, son?
Right there. Actually, and it overlaps with where I live right now. Thankfully, like a lot of the lithium right here comes out as a byproduct of some of the natural gas and stuff like that. So they may or may not wipe us off the map. I don't really know. But also that earthquake in Myanmar. Well, not a lot of people know about it, but there's over 3,000 people dead in Myanmar.
Yeah,
Myanmar, however you pronounce that.
Well, we live in the United States of Amnesia, so nobody's really caring about that. How about it? I mean, unless it happens in the NIMBY society, that's what we are. Nobody cares until it happens in our backyards. But those unforeseen events like that and weather events, you didn't plan for that. And like I just told you a little while ago, man, I'm looking at trees right now still laid down from the hurricane. I just haven't had a chance to get to it. Physical demands, doing this work, and this is why I'm spending so much time on biohacking right now, is because I'm not getting any younger. I'm going to be 55 this year, and I love this work. And if I want to continue to do it, then I better find ways to mitigate the nonsense they're dropping from the sky, the stuff they're poisoning us with, either through these phones or computers, This is why I wear these glasses, to eliminate the blue light that's coming in my eyes right now, even though my skin is also absorbing it. So, it's things like that. These little things where if I'm going to do this work, I've got to find every single possible way to make myself more efficient, because this is the work I love. I mean, I absolutely, could I go back to my old career and make a pile of money? Absolutely. But that's not what moves me. That's not what wakes me up in the morning. I love what I do. I love farming, and I love teaching this. I love evangelizing this magnificent design science called permaculture. So you have a lack of time, obviously, especially if you're not a good time manager. But folks, look, it's spring, and a lot of people, it's going to be upon you before you know it. Spring, summer, that's when you're going to be going at 100 miles an hour, especially if you bit off more than you can chew. Especially like William talked about, like making a garden way too big.
Mm-hmm.
It's things like that where you're like, oh, snap, now what do I do with the harvest? And to which you might want to check out a Harvest Right freeze dryer. Or, some other method of canning, whatever the thing is that you need to do. But you are always going to feel, at least I feel this way, and I know your mom feels this way, and I guess I'll leave it to you to decide whether or not you do, but you always feel as if you're putting out fires. You make a little bit of an advancement, and then you're thinking, okay, let me just keep this momentum going. And then there's going to be something that sidetracks you. It is the nature of farming, folks. So give yourself a little bit of grace. You're never going to fully catch up. You never will. I have never met a farmer that says, yeah, we got everything done, because there is never a finish line. You just got to stay in that balance of maintaining your sanity and also getting the work done, because the two can't overlap. Anything you'd add to that, son?
Yeah, I just had this conversation this morning with Michael. We were kind of debating whether or not we we're going to go out to Selmer, Tennessee, and Lake City, Arkansas to help with the disaster relief, because especially after North Carolina, it's something that we both kind of feel called to do, is go and provide disaster relief. And among other reasons, we were kind of thinking like, man, we don't even have our own food in the ground yet. Like, he doesn't at his house, I don't at my house, don't even have our own food in the ground yet. How are we gonna, like, you have to work from a position of abundance, and right now neither one of us are in that position right now. And so we also know that other groups are going out to Selmer and Lake City, Arkansas, and stuff like that. But yeah, so we're gonna hold off until see if there's any disasters after that within close proximity that we can help out with if need be. But also, I don't necessarily want to be too far. I don't want to be on the other side of the Mississippi at the moment, away from my wife and baby, just because, those times are coming upon us.
Well, they're upon us. I mean, I would, you're seeing stuff happen at a rate, being a little bit older, and the people older than me could vouch for this. And being a person that was in the news industry in the classical sense before, we have as much news in a week that we would have in 6 months. And that is no exaggeration. I mean, nobody's even talking about the Baltimore bridge collapse anymore, for crying out loud.
Oh.
I mean, all of these things are happening right now, and they're happening at a record rate. But back to your point, son, really, at the end of the day, if you don't have your own food in the ground, if you don't have your own food on lock, then you're not going to be of any use to anybody when things jump off at another place. So you've got to at least have your stuff squared away. You got to have it in the ground. You got to be off and running. You got to have your freezers full. You got to have, it blows my mind that all these Bitcoin maxis out here, and I'm not critical of you guys. I mean, we have a lot in common. Or the silver gurus. I love how, of all the ones I know, of all the people that are all about silver, all about Bitcoin, not one of them that I know of, and I know quite a few of them, not one of them has any storable food. Now, go back to, you think if I could, Jacob and Esau, if I could Esau somebody's, if I were that kind of person, how much of that Bitcoin would you be willing to get rid of for a bowl of soup? And the same thing for all you silver gurus out there, or gold gurus, wherever you are. It just blows my mind how you only see half of the equation, where you better worry about your food first and then think about those other things, because honestly, you could shake somebody down for all the change in their pocket if they are starving to death. Now, I'm not that kind of person, but I think you get the point. And that's where I think you make an extraordinary point there is, start at home. Charity begins at home, and that's where you got to start. You got to put on your own mask before you worry about the baby in the seat next to you. I mean, you got to worry about you first.
Yeah.
But that's exactly where it starts. But folks, I know it can be overwhelming right now, especially when we're in a news cycle that changes by, I mean, for crying out loud, I've never seen anything like this. Never even close. And as far as the disaster, stay put. I'm sure another engineered disaster is on its way. Nobody's even talking about LA anymore. Clearly, directed energy weapons. And before they removed Christopher Key from X, he proved beyond all doubt that directed energy weapons were absolutely used out there. And of course, they had to scrub his X channel, real free platform there, right? So when he figured out and told everybody about the directed energy weapons that were being used in California, they got rid of his channel, but nobody's even talking about it anymore. It's off the lips. Here in North Carolina, everything it's as it was. In some places, the needle hasn't even moved a little bit, and we're still in the same place. But so, like I said, hold on to your hat. But going back to the central theme of, I don't want to go too far afield here, but folks, give yourself a little bit of grace. Now, that's not to say be lazy, but give yourself some grace. You are always going to feel, when you do this work, you're just going to have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable in certain parts, and just understand that that's part of the business. I've been doing this a very long time. I got plenty of food, got plenty of everything we need, and then I'm adding more to it. So I got to find ways to be more efficient, because honestly, reclaiming soil and figuring out ways because a lot of this stuff we're having to invent or put things together that have never been done before. A lot of this stuff has never been done before. Well, that wasn't in the cards. That wasn't part of it. But I'm like, okay, if my grandbaby's going to be out here playing around, I need to make sure I have the cleanest environment imaginable. And I know a lot of you out there feel the same way. So I'm adding more to a grocery cart that's already filled. But like they say, you want something done, give it to a busy person. And I'm a busy person, so I'm going to get it done, and I'm going to do the best I can. I'll do it, to the best of my ability. But give yourself, because I know folks are absolutely stressed out. Absolutely to the brink on a lot of this stuff. So give yourself a little bit of grace, and just take a breather every once in a while, and just understand that you're never, ever, ever going to find yourself to the place where you arrived. It's never going to happen. And I don't know of a single person. I can't, son, maybe you know somebody, but I have never come across a single person that feels like they've arrived, no matter how long they've been doing this.
Not one. I mean, ask Joel Salatin. Does he think he's arrived, or is he still trying to progress his farm more? He's been at it for a long time.
Yeah, him and people much older than him never, ever feel like they've arrived. So, folks, just relax a little bit. Just knock out. There's going to be days where you're just putting out fires. You just don't want to go backwards if you can help it. And some days you're going to. It may be 2 steps back, 2 steps forward. It may be 10 steps back some cases and 1 step forward. But it's like a sailboat. I use that sailboat analogy often. A sailboat is not a speedboat, and our lives are like a sailboat. You don't just go from A to B in a sailboat. You find a wind, and then you follow it for a while, and then you find another wind, and then you take it. You may zigzag, but generally you're going in the right direction. And that's how we kind of live our lives as farmers and homesteaders and permaculture designers and preparedness people. That's how it has to go. And that's just the way it is. I mean, so give yourself a little bit of grace, especially as we're coming into spring is starting to get in the full swing here. And we're going to be off and running. All right, son, anything else you want to add?
That's about it. Yeah, remember, don't get too frustrated with it. Don't put yourself in a position where you want to quit. Like, don't do too big of a garden. Don't get too many animals. Don't get too many different systems all at once. Because, I mean, something eventually, if it's not happening right now, something eventually is going to happen where it kind of throws a wrench in the entire plan. So just keep that in mind. That's why you kind of want to start small and build up from there.
That's what I'm talking about. All right, y'all. I want to thank everybody in the chat. Thank Ben and Denise from Renewed Homestead for all they're doing. Until next time, stay alert.
Stay alive.
Wisdom from soul. Permaculture dream. Let the ideas unfold. I'm grooving with the truth. Feeling nature's groove. wind. From the smallest sprout to harmony begin. In the cycle of life, for the magic's alive. To the